Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons and someone else starting to talk about Dungeons & Dragons as not just a game. All right, so Family Tabletop. He has a new channel. He's relatively new. I think he's been around maybe 2 years now. And so he specifically runs tabletop role-playing games to specifically to connect with his son, which is really interesting. But he just did a video and he said, "Hey, our tabletop RPGs just games." And so this was catnip to me because that's my entire point. I don't think Dungeons and Dragons was a game. I think Gary Gygax built D&D as a human improvement engine, right? So he's not saying that. He's saying that what he gets frustrated with, the point of his video is he starts talking to people about tabletop role-playing games, and his goal is to become the best dungeon master, the best player, right? And then he starts a serious conversation, and then at some point everybody's like, well, it's just a game, right? And his entire point is wait, no, that's a problem. And the reason why is why are we taking the time to talk about it? And he's 100% right. No other game in the world gets talked about like Dungeons and Dragons. Nothing. No one talks about stuff at this level. There is one game, and actually there's 3 games that are talked about at this level, and that's sports. And frankly, if you go to any professional player, any coach, and you say, "Oh, it's just a game," right? They'll be like, "No." No one says, football, basketball, baseball is just a game, right? Because there's billions of dollars on the line. People lose their houses over it. People are, risking life, literally life and limb. People die from these sports, legit, right? So the idea that this is a game, that's not even entertained on the football, basketball, baseball side. And now the reason why I'm pointing at this is I'm just thrilled to see somebody else starting to talk about Dungeons and Dragons as more than a game and saying, hey, to talk about and so he had some great language around this, right? So he said, if you just say it's just a game, that's a subversion of value. Totally agree. That's brilliant, right? The other thing is he's saying, if you just say it's just a game, you're removing yourself from the conversation of what you're actually talking about. And I totally agree. He's the moment you the moment you say it's just a game, you're hitting an eject button on the conversation, right? Because the reality is nobody talks about Candyland. Nobody cares, right? And so that's the point. And I also just absolutely loved in his video where he was essentially saying, what I'm using Dungeons and Dragons for is to reach out to my son, right? And to me, it's completely, my entire point is, it is ridiculous that for 50 years we're the purpose of this thing is to have fun. No, right? We don't do that with anything, right? We don't do that. You make a thing and then people use that thing for whatever they want that thing to be. You don't get to define what other people use a thing for. And that's if the thing is super simple. And Dungeons and Dragons is not even remotely simple. It doesn't fit the shape of anything on the planet. Anything. It is just so completely unique. And I believe that Dungeons and Dragons fundamentally changed forever how humans in a secular manner interact with narrative and identity, right? And so I'm using Dungeons and Dragons to cut my deficiencies in half. He's using Dungeons and Dragons as a bridge to his son. Great, right? And my point is, and actually, B. Dave Walters, he's using Dungeons and Dragons to evoke a strong emotion at the table, or give relief to a strong emotion that someone felt away from the table. That's 3 distinct purposes, and absolutely none of them have anything to do with fun. And I love this. So I'm just really thrilled to see someone else coming along and say, and increasingly, I think the conversation is starting to be had, hey, Dungeons & Dragons ain't a game. Completely. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is not a game. It wasn't on day one. It's certainly not now, and it never will be. It's always been far more than that. And I'm excited to see people starting to move in. And he's not saying exactly what I'm saying. He's just starting to move in the direction that I'm in. And frankly, I read it as getting into the deep end of the pool, right? He's swimming out of the shallows, right? And I'm all here. I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic. I just wanted to share that with you and signal boost it. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. And when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Also, I will put the link below for his video. Thank you.